Us small business owners need every single person in our team to perform as A players. We haven't got room for slack. We don't have an abundance of people where, if a few people drag their feet, that's okay. The rest will pick up the slack. That doesn't exist because we're micro businesses. The challenges and the frustration comes from when people don't live up to our expectations, when things aren't done as quickly or as well as we wish they were. And I believe the hardest thing to cope with is the knowledge that this is a true reflection of our leadership, that we feel we are failing as a business owner, as a manager, as a leader when our staff don't perform. Because after all, it's only us that are leading them and showing them the way. In today's episode, I want to dive into this and go behind the scenes in my own business to explain from a raw and honest opinion why I think I fail, the things I try to put in place to improve stuff, and where sometimes, it's the responsibility of the person on the other end to step up. But what can we do as leaders of micro businesses to facilitate that change and to hopefully get the best out of every single person that works with us? So the question is this: how do entrepreneurs like us, who don't have an endless supply of cash, how do we leverage the best apps, virtual assistants, automation tools and systems to scale our businesses, increase our profits and have more time to do what we love to do each day? That is the question, and this podcast will give you the answer. My name's Dr. Steve Day and this is Systemize Your Success. Okay, so before I jump into today's episode, I want to just acknowledge something. Like, running a small business is tough. We often wear multiple hats: the visionary, the integrator, the operations manager, the line manager, often the person doing the work as well. We're trying to fit all of that into the capacity that you have available through our energy and our time and our focus. And so keeping that all together is tough. When we add on to the fact that we also have to be expert managers and leaders for our people to help to nurture them, to support them so they can grow into the best they can possibly be, it's a tall order. And so it's no wonder that it's a struggle. It's no wonder that I feel like I'm failing when I see the work that people do as a total reflection of my ability to lead them. So when people make mistakes, I think, like, is it me? Is it my systems? Is it something that I could have done differently in order to improve the outcome of this? Or is it all them? Like, is it truly their personality? Are they not really bothered about the work they're doing? Are they just showing up simply to collect a paycheck? I'm hoping that the people I work with don't feel like that. I'm hoping that my recruitment system eliminates most of those tire kickers, or those time wasters, I should say. People that literally just want to get paid for doing as little as possible. I'm hoping that actually the process of working with these people, I see that they are excited about the work they're doing. They want to work in our company. They want to see it grow. They believe in my values and they believe in the vision that I have and the mission that we're on. But with all that said, it still can be massively frustrating when people don't perform at the level you wish they would. And the real challenge here, I think, as small business owners, is that we can often see this as a true reflection of our leadership. We often, maybe we have too high expectations of people, that we expect everyone to care about our business as much as we do. And that, again, is something that's going to set us up for failure, because nobody will care about our businesses as much as we do. They're our babies. They're the thing that we nurture, that we have developed, that we have grown from nothing into something that actually is giving back to the world. It's giving to us. It's giving to our staff. And we're the only person that sees all that. We're the only person that's lived through every up and down. The only person that's actually put ourselves on the line to make this a success. The staff, they may invest some time with us. They may actually put some extra energy in. They may actually go through some stresses and challenges. But ultimately, it is a job to those people. They can walk away and get another job. But for us to walk away from the business, that means saying we failed. That means admitting that we made some really bad decisions and we shouldn't have gone down the path we've gone. And so us business owners have a lot to carry. And therefore, it's no wonder that we find it hard to carve out the time to support our staff in the best way we possibly can. This is something that I have massively struggled with. I know I've lost my patience with people. I've talked in ways that I feel embarrassed about afterwards. I've shown my frustrations openly. Maybe I've done it in public, in front of other members of staff. I've regretted that massively afterwards. I felt bad about some of the things I've said. I felt like I've just completely missed the point on other occasions. I've gone down off tangents and then realized I had to backtrack because I just got it so wrong. I've misinterpreted the situation. I've blamed people for things that weren't their fault. I've done all of these things and so many more besides. But each time I do this, each time I make one of these small and sometimes big mistakes, sometimes I might even lose staff over this stuff over the years, or I just upset people, and that's horrible. And I never intend or set out to do that. It's just because I'm living with all the stress and the frustration of things not going the way I wish they would. And sometimes that just boils up and gets let out. I've got so much better over the years at managing myself and my expectations, and about understanding that if I can rise above the feelings that I have and see this in a more objective way and actually look to see how the situation can be improved rather than putting blame on something that's happened in the past, that can be a stepping stone to creating a far more trusting, more nurturing, and actually more productive work environment. But the challenge over the years has been knowing how to do all that. And I've, like with everything I've done, create systems and frameworks and methodologies around so many aspects of this that have helped me hugely in going from that very reactive, emotional kind of manager to someone who is far more reflective, who takes time to, most of the time, think about things before I say them, about reacting, about having a framework in place for most of the stuff and decisions and comments and feedback that I need to give. And that in itself has been a huge, huge win. But over all this, over everything I try to achieve, over everything I try to do, there still is this underlying issue or this underlying challenge that we have as business owners. And that is that the performance of our staff can feel like a direct reflection of our ability to lead them. And therein lies one of the biggest problems. Because when you're in a situation, when you're challenged with something that actually you see in yourself or you blame yourself for, it can be really hard to keep those emotions at bay. It can be really hard to actually see that okay, we need to work through this. We need to actually create a solution for this and not get dragged into the emotion or the feelings of that moment. So again, the frameworks and the systems are how I have put steps in place to try to do this. And this came up in our meeting today, our staff meeting this morning. And we had a new member of staff start last week, and they just came back in this week after a couple of days off. And I was talking about management, about what my role is as a leader. Now, as I said, I'm a micro business owner. I don't have layers of management and I'm sort of passing the buck down. The buck stops with me. My team work directly with me. I have somebody that works in my marketing, somebody in my operations, and someone in my back-end systems. And that's it. And so they don't have line managers. I am that manager. But I'm also their leader. I'm also the visionary. I'm also trying to drive the business forward, create sales. I'm trying to create the whole authority behind everything we do, create the products and services and all that stuff as well. But I can't let all that get in the way of being the manager that my staff need me to be. They need somebody to lead them, not just lead the business forward and hopefully they're going to just get dragged along in the wake. They need someone to step back in, to be that operational level, to be the manager that they need to become the best people that they can be. So today I want to talk about some of the frameworks that I put in place that help me to do that, to be the best manager I can be. This is stuff I work on every single day. And I've come to realize that this is some of the highest value work I do. I used to think it was all about the vision, all about the products, the services, dealing with clients and supporting them. But what I'm realizing is that without supporting my staff and helping them to grow, it's all going to fall back on me. And that's happened more times than I'd like to admit over the years, when brilliant staff members leave. And I look back and reflect on what was my involvement in this? How did I push them away? Or what did I not do to support them when they really needed some support? How did I not see where they were struggling? How did I not put them into a position which they loved? All of these things that we can do as managers that good managers will do instinctively because they've maybe got years of experience of doing it, but also they've got the time to think about it. Like if you're a manager of a team, your job is to support that team, to make sure your team functions at the best they possibly can and is highly productive. So if you're a dedicated manager of a team and you've probably got years of experience in doing it, and your role is basically to make the team productive, like you're going to get measured on the performance of your team, like you're going to put the time and effort needed to make sure those people are in the right roles, they are supported, they are performing at their best, they have the right professional development plans in place, they are having their KPIs and KRAs reviewed, they're doing all of that stuff that brilliant managers do. But when you don't have a manager, well, who is left to do it? As a micro business owner, that responsibility falls back to us. The challenge is that if we don't address this, if we don't lean into this, if we don't continually improve our abilities to manage effectively, then we risk losing everything. We risk losing the one thing that we need to support us in our visionary role, and that is an effective, productive team. So let's jump into a couple of the frameworks and things that I've used over the years that have helped massively in allowing me to develop into an effective manager, to become somebody who supports people, to giving my team what they need to actually progress and grow and become the best that they can be. I believe that these frameworks are fundamental. And however you interpret these or the versions you use, if you're not looking at these different areas, then you're missing out on massive opportunities to allow you to be the visionary, to be the lead that you need to be. Because if you haven't got these things in place, then your team will not be performing the independence that they can be at the level they should be, and also with that confidence that you need them to in order for you to just get on with your own work. So a few of the things that I work on with them are a default diary approach. So looking at their deep work time in the week. So for example, if you've got a staff member who's dealing with your social media, or maybe they're working on your community, for example, or they're in your back office doing client support, or maybe they're the onboarding person. If all they do is the tasks around that process, that system, and they never get time to actually reflect and improve and optimize, then you're missing out on a massive opportunity here. Not only will people have far more ownership and accountability for stuff they're involved with involved with improving, but also you'll level up those people so they start improving your systems from the inside out. You want the staff who are involved in the doing of the work to be the ones that are seeing the opportunities, that are keeping up to date with the latest releases in new software and apps, or just new theories or methodologies or ideas that are coming out into the world, and trying them out and seeing what works, seeing how those things can be adapted and adopted into your business. So setting aside time for people to do that is an essential part of that process. If people are overtasked, so if you've got somebody that works for you for 20 or 40 hours or whatever, and all you do is throw more work at them, they've got a backlog of 50 tasks that they're never going to get round to, and all they're doing is basically going through task by task by task by task, and there's no time, dedicated time set aside for them to actually do the thinking work, then they're going to stay stagnant. And at a certain point, they're going to think, you know what, I want more. I want to be more than what I am right now, but I haven't got the opportunity to grow in this business because all I'm doing is the doing. I want time to actually improve myself, to become a better version of me. So we as business owners, we as managers need to support that to allow people to grow. Otherwise, they'll feel constrained and trapped by the job or the position they're in. And if they're the kind of people we actually want, they're going to actually be looking elsewhere because they want to be growth oriented in terms of their own professional development. And if we're not able to facilitate and support that, they will go elsewhere looking. So the default diary is how we do this. We talk about setting time aside for the deep work, but also about managing time in terms of your highest and lowest energy. So what kind of tasks should you be doing in the morning, for example, when people are typically at their highest energy, and what tasks should be left for the afternoon? Like recurring basic admin stuff, stick it in the afternoon. Stick it when you're in that carb coma after lunch, and let the mornings be free for the creative, the powerful, the inspiring work that people can actually achieve. If they do anything creative, again, stick it in the morning. Let them actually use the best part of their brain to actually give you the best work they can and make less mistakes. Similarly, high attention to detail work. best done with a fresh mind, not the kind of stuff you want to be doing late at night when you're just trying to catch it with your hours because you've been busy in the week and you're working flexi time, or just do a few hours on a Saturday night or something just to catch up, and it's just done not really to the best of someone's abilities. So you can manage that as a manager. You can actually ask people to focus on certain types of tasks at certain times of day and actually ask them not to work in the evenings. If you do have flexible time, well, put some constraints around it. Flexi time is brilliant. It's something that I actually try to support within my work because I enjoy the flexi time that I live as the business owner, the freedom that I actually have created within my business. And I want my staff to have the same options, to be able to work when it suits them within reason. I still want people to arrive and work at their best. And so therefore I do put some limitations and constraints in when freedom is allowed, if you like. So it's freedom within constraints, because that then serve them in their life goals and their freedom goals, but also serve me as a business who's trying to actually grow as a business, to actually support more people and etc. going forward. So it's a balance. And I think that's the kind of conversation you should be having. The default diary is how we do it. It's about setting time aside for deep work, for admin, for high value work, for high creative or detailed work, and blocking that out throughout the week. It's about knowing there's a time block for doing certain types of stuff and not getting distracted with other stuff during those times. Another thing we use is our problem-solving framework called the ideas over issues. This is about getting people's minds into a problem-solving mode rather than a problem-bringing mode. Like, I don't want to be the person that my staff continually ask questions. So I want them to start thinking through problems before they come and bring it to me. Sometimes just that act of thinking it through will prompt them to the next step anyway, and they won't ever bring with that problem because they've already figured out all they need to do is, like, for example, go and ask technical support of the app, because that's where they're going to get the answer. Why are they going to ask me? Because I don't know. And so there's always a solution they can bring to the table, or a suggested solution about what they might do next. And that again creates this problem solving mindset that has to be supported from us, from managers, to actually support them in the decisions that they've made and the ideas they've got. And so it's a two-way street. We can't just say yes to everything, no matter what they actually suggest, but we should be supporting as much as possible so they have the confidence to actually try out stuff without our involvement. Next thing is about prioritization. So we use something called a task matrix, like a task board, for managing all the tasks. It shows us what people are doing on a recurring basis, what people are doing are prioritizing, what they're in their backlog, their pending list, and allows them to actually see everything in one place, to be able to prioritize stuff based on our quarterly goals, for example, the outcomes of our weekly team meetings, the focus for the week, and they can then look at their tasks as a whole and actually start prioritizing. If they need help, they can ask myself, or if there's a team member that's appropriate, ask them to actually support them in deciding what is a priority task. But having everything they're working on right now in one place, it allows that and facilitates that to happen really quickly and effectively. We can also guide their priorities. We have a prioritize your task every morning, and that will then go against our mission and our vision on our quarterly goals, and also against our client success and actually our client concerns. And anything that fits into those categories, that's a high priority. Anything else can probably be just pushed back until maybe never, or done when there's actually not that much high priority stuff going on, which is very rare, I think, in micro businesses. There's also these aspects of planning work. Often we throw loads of work at people, especially bigger projects as well, and say, get on with it, go and set that new whatever it is up, set that new CRM up and let me know when it's done. Whereas actually that's a huge project with multiple different phases it's going to go through. You're going to have like a basic setup, then adding new features and exploring features and whatever it is. Like, you're building up this thing that's going to evolve over many, many years. We've got tons of examples of this, whether it's designing our recruitment system, our inbox management system, whether it's onboarding onto or moving onto our new community platform, or designing our LMS, or course development, or our CRM, or our marketing. Like, all of these things are just constantly evolving. And so by giving people a project management framework, it allows them to set the vision for the project, often involving myself as the micro business owner, as the visionary of the company. So I'll set the vision for what this project is about. I'll share my ideas, my ideals, what my idea of amazing looks like today. And that may evolve as we sort of go further down the path of the project. We want to set at the beginning at least a guiding vision to where we're actually moving towards. I want to look at, is this in line with our business goals? What are the advantages to our internal staff or maybe to our clients? What are the problems this is going to overcome? And what's the big picture thinking right now? What are the things that myself or other staff members can contribute right now to what brilliant looks like? We then look at, do we have the capacity to take this on? Do we have the knowledge needed to implement this? Do we have the funds available to do this? If all those things are available, or we can get them, by either, bringing in talent or going on training courses or whatever, and all those things are ticking the box, then we're ready to actually start going into this project. Then we can start planning out what phase 1 looks like, what phase 2 looks like, what is the milestone and the goal at each of these phases. And that gives people real direction. It gives them milestone points where they can actually work towards in a relatively small timescale, so they get wins not only for them, but wins for the business. Because if we can plan projects in phases that deliver real value for us as a business, it serves us much, much quicker than trying to sort of go too far in one sprint. It allows us to create value, and also for that person to feel a sense of achievement because they've hit a predefined milestone. They say, yes, I've done this. I've done phase 1. The other advantage of this, of working in this phased approach with clear value-driven endpoints, is that if things get busy and we get distracted and get taken off a project, we can say, hey, we're going to just finish off this phase. It's going to be done in 2 days. Then we can move our resources off this project for a while, put them on this urgent thing, and then we can come back to this project later. But we've actually created something of value up until this point, and because we've documented what we've done and where we're up to, we can continue where we left off in the future. So that project management system has been revolutionary when we apply it properly, and I'll hold my hands up that sometimes we cut corners and we don't, and I end up regretting it further down the line. So this is something that I'm still evolving to adopt on an absolutely militant basis in my business, but every time we apply it, I see massive benefits from doing it, and especially when I see clients doing it as well. It's wonderful to see it actually working and people feeling like they're achieving on a far more regular occurrence than sometimes when these never-ending projects just go on and on with no real end in sight and no real point of saying, yes, done is done for now. We can always come back to it later, but what does done look like today? And so that's a great way to actually manage expectations from your side of what I expect this to be done, the timescales for getting things done, but also to manage people in terms of what they are getting from it, the value that they're getting in terms of getting the win, but also us as a company. Other than that, we also have policies around communication. How do we talk within the business? How do we communicate? Do we ping things back and forth via email without any discipline, or is there a structure and a process to this? So having a method to the madness with regards to the urgency of a task. So is it a critical urgency, an urgent urgency, or a plain normal urgency, or just not very urgent at all? And we have different ways and methods for actually escalating tasks and issues depending on the urgency level. That means we're not inundated, any of our team members, they're not inundated with messages from people all day long distracting us from our work. We have set times, we have set places where these types of messages, depending on the urgency, come in, and therefore we can address them appropriately without getting overwhelmed and distracted from our own work. We also spend a lot of time working on confidence. I work with remote teams, with what typical people call virtual assistants, and sometimes when I work with people, they come and have worked in environments before that have been quite toxic. They've had bad managers, unsupportive managers. They've been basically driven by targets and times without any real opportunities for personal growth. And so they often need some help with confidence, with the confidence to push back, for the confidence to question, for the confidence to say, if you give me this, Steve, and I prioritize it, what do you not want me to do? Because I'm already really busy. That kind of feedback, or pushback, I should say, is so valuable, I think, to us micro business owners, because we have so many things spinning around our heads, so many things we want to get done. Sometimes we forget that we've already thrown 15 things on this person's plate. If we throw another 5, it's just going to sink. So we need to, I believe, or we don't need, it's massively beneficial if we have people that are confident enough to push back and say, yeah, yes, but not now. Or no, I can't do that. I just not have the ability to do that. Can we find somebody else to do it? And ideally, the best person will say, look, leave it with me. I'll find someone to do it, but I'm not going to do it myself. That's, for me, is an absolutely gold way for people to deal with problems, but it doesn't always happen. But to have this confidence, to have this ability to push back, it requires trust. And trust works both ways. We need to trust them that when they push back, they're doing it from a place of responsibility for their existing work, of knowing that if they do this thing, they're not going to be able to do something else which they believe is a higher priority. We've got to trust that they have the company's best interests at heart or the team's best interests at heart. That comes from experience of working with somebody, but that trust is so important. And they've got to trust us as well as their manager or their leader. They've got to trust that we're not going to throw it back at them, that we're not going to be angry at them for pushing back, that we're actually going to say, thank you. Thank you for taking the time to bring this to my attention, that this may be a little bit too much for you to handle at the moment. Let's have a look at what else you're working on and see how we can juggle things around to free up some time to focus on this, because I think we really need to do this. But also, I value your input. What else do you think you're working on right now, which is super valuable or super priority, that maybe we shouldn't be pushing back? When you start responding like that, it builds trust. You bring people into the decision process, you give them accountability for the outcomes based on the decisions you make during that meeting, and therefore going forward, they will have more responsibility for getting it done because they've been involved in the process, and also it builds more and more compounding trust. Another key part we try to work on is initiative. This is a product of many other things I've talked about. But also for people being humble, for people having humility, and for people being able to own up for their mistakes and take ownership of their wins. So for this, we use something called the feedback model, where we try to talk about the action or the events that occur, but do it in real time. So for example, like when you are late for meetings, not when you were late last Tuesday, or when you stay late to help a client, or when you go out your way to make sure we don't miss that podcast episode being performed. It's like when you. Then we talk about the outcome. So like, or the effect of that behavior. So the behavior is like the when, the effective, this is what happens. Like, it makes me feel like you absolutely are dedicated to your role. Amazing. And the last thing is, what do we want to do in the future? Either keep it up or do less of it. So basically we want to say what the behavior is we're talking about, what the effect of that behavior is, either good or bad, and do we want more of it or less of it? And we can also invite that person into the solution. Like, how can you make time to do more of this in future? Like, bring them into that actual process of self-development. So these are the sort of things that allow people, or give people the opportunity to show that they are humble, to show they have humility, but also to start taking initiative. And as I said before, also to start acknowledging their own wins, to take time in the day to actually look at the gains that they are making for themselves and for the company, and not always to focus on the gap looking ahead. So not always focus on the goals that will always keep moving, because business is continually evolving. We always move the goalposts. But sometimes we need to just take a moment to step back and say, look at that amazing stuff you have achieved, or we have achieved together so far. It's so important to take that moment to acknowledge that, and giving feedback using a feedback model is one of the best ways I think you can do that. Or like I did this morning, literally just taking time out, sitting down with somebody and just giving them a moment to reflect on what an amazing job they've been doing, to actually talk them through the gains that they've made, the wins that they had, like the stuff they've overcome, the things they learned, and to have that moment of seeing that person see that you truly appreciate them, to see that you haven't been blind to all of their hard work. That builds trust, that builds confidence, I believe. And it is so important because, you know, in this particular example, which is actually one of the inspirations for recording this episode, this person was feeling a bit stressed. They were feeling pretty down and feeling insecure about their position. And I felt the absolute opposite. But it's only through building trust, through all the things I talk about, and I'll talk about one of the last things in a minute about building trust, but through building trust that she had the confidence to bring this up. And then I realized that, wow, this is an opportunity for me to absolutely show my appreciation for this person. And so I was able to do that. So it turned what could have been a stressful, could have been a downward spiral conversation into something that was massively uplifting and really positive and beneficial for, I think, both of us. So the last thing, and this is actually when this happened in this event, was during a one-to-one meeting. So we have one-to-one meetings every week with my staff. As I said, I've got a micro team, so it's me doing this. If you've got managers and they are solely responsible for like the line manager, if you like, then they can do this. But the idea is that I want to meet my staff and give them an opportunity to share what it is that's on their mind with me without me interrupting them. It also gives me an opportunity to give any specific feedback or to talk about professional development based on, feedback or coaching that I'm currently giving them. It's a time aside from everything else I do with work. It's about them, it's about developing them, and it's about nurturing and supporting them in whatever they feel they need. Sometimes that is just tasks they're working on, but a lot of time it's beyond that. It's the level deeper. And that's where the real value comes, is when you say, okay, great, I see you're struggling with this. How can we avoid you ever struggling with this again? Because there's a question you're asking me here, but underlying this is actually maybe a knowledge, a skill, an experience that you're lacking to be able to just take the initiative to get on with this. How do we fix that layer rather than just continually, feeding the answers to questions? It's how do we remove the need for those questions being asked? How do we make them better at the thing than you are? And therefore you're going to them to ask questions rather than them coming to you. That is what our one-to-ones are about, and that's what we try to structure them so there's a space for them, it's a space for me, and it's for us to develop together. That builds trust, that builds teamwork. I think the combination of all of these things, the default diary, ideas over issues framework, the task matrix, our project management system, comms policies, feedback models, our one-to-one meetings, and the idea of the gap and the gain and being reflecting on the wins or reflecting on the wins that we've had, all these things combined are the things that I am doing every single day or trying to do every single day to make myself into being a better manager. I haven't found this, I should say, naturally easy to do. It's something that I've worked on for many years, but I also feel that things that we struggle with, the challenges that we have, can become our greatest strengths because we realize, if we're humble enough to realize we have an issue, that we are open to the idea that we are the problem, that it's actually something that we need to work on internally, and and we see the benefit of doing that, then that drive can be what it takes to be the obsessed enough about it to do like what I've done and create countless frameworks and systems for everything I do. All the things I've struggled with over the years, that's where all of my greatest achievements have ever come from in terms of business optimization and creating flow within our business and creating all the stuff that I do and I share within our community. Like, this has all come from overcoming my biggest challenges. It's not from acknowledging I'm brilliant at doing something and then sharing with the world. It's like saying, no, I'm absolutely rubbish at this. I've spent the past X number of years, these next thousands of hours, going into this in detail about working on myself, about trial and error, about making mistakes, about messing up time and time again, but keeping on persevering to get to a solution that works. That's why I'm good at this now. That's why I can help people like my staff, help them do this, is because this is the stuff that I am not very good at. So therefore I put an unseemly amount of hours into actually figuring out how to be better at it. And that is why I think that whatever your position is right now, however you feel you are as a manager, however your staff feel you are as a manager, is worth reflecting on. It's worth actually examining and maybe even talking to your staff about it. Like, how could I improve as a manager? What could I do more of? What could I do a little bit less of? And see what actually comes out of it. And now you've got something to work on going forward to make you into a better manager and hopefully as a result, make your business even more successful. Thank you very much for listening in today. If you found this useful, then please do share it with your friends, colleagues, loved ones, anyone you think who might benefit from listening to it. Please do leave us a review, and if you'd like to find out more about how we can help you in any which way, if you've got any comments or questions about this episode or any of the topics I cover, please just comment on whatever you're listening to this on right now, or head over to our website at sys.academy and join.sys.academy, and you can learn more about what we do. And I very much look forward to speaking to you very soon. Thank you very much. Bye now.